This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. Okay, this is going to be pretty loose today, and I'm going to be giving you my numbers and all of my reflections on 2022 in my business. Before I jump into that, I want to encourage you to get on the wait list for Create Your Program. So this is the program to help you create your own program beyond private practice, make really great money with that offer, and create something phenomenal. So we're opening up registration really soon. Get on the wait list. We're going to have a special offer for people on the wait list. And to do that, you want to go to rebeltherapist.me/create. So I'll start with my numbers. Last year, in my review of 2021, I didn't even share my numbers with you. And I realized that's because I released that episode before the end of the year. So I didn't know what my numbers would be. So now I'll share my numbers for 2022 and for 2021, and then we'll do some analysis. So for 2021, Rebel Therapist grossed just over $254,000. And at that time, that was the biggest year yet. 2022, Rebel Therapist grossed $332,000. And so once again, that's the biggest number yet. Let me tell you about take home. So take home for 2021, meaning taxes are taken care of, expenses are taken care of. This is the money I actually put into my own bank account, $98,000 for 2021. And for 2022, $159,000. Again, that's outside of the taxes that had already been paid. All right, let's get into some analysis and takeaways. How I did it, what I did, and how I think about it. The biggest takeaway is not financial at all. The biggest thing that happened was trauma healing. Really stepping into some profound trauma healing. And what that has meant so far is that I no longer feel hypervigilant every moment about what's going on with the people around me. So I was living in hypervigilance while doing a pretty good impression of a calm person, including to myself. So I didn't know that because I didn't really have anything to compare it to. I just thought that was how I was, that I was kind of an anxious person. So I'll probably talk more about this in upcoming episodes when I'm ready, just the way trauma had been impacting my work and my business and how healing is really changing my work and my business. But for now, I'm just going to say it has been profound and I'm finding myself in a really different spot. Work feels more easy and joyful, and I'm less looking around at all times worrying about who I might disappoint or what other people are experiencing. And this is making my coaching better, more direct, even more honest, still kind, but highly clear and confident. I'm also a lot more confident about how great my programs are. So that's the biggest takeaway, and it is only tangentially related to money. All right, let's get into how I improved Create Your Program. So I'm not going to talk about everything that already was great about Create Your Program. I'm just going to talk about additions. So the biggest, most profound thing has been hiring Sonia Brewer to run bonus private calls for BIPOC participants. She is a phenomenal business mentor, and the feedback I get from participants about those calls is awesome. Another really big improvement has been working with a curriculum designer. So I've hesitated to talk about this too much because it's so important to me that you do things in the right order. And when you're first creating your program is not the right time to hire a curriculum designer. So I had already run my program over 25 times before Seema Barwani helped me make it so much better. So I just throw that in there in case you're taking notes about like, well, what should I do this year? If you've already run your program many, many times, definitely hire Seema. If you are just getting started, run your program and then you'll be in a position to get some awesome help down the line. So Seema helped me to break down Create Your Program into much more bite-sized pieces. So now the videos are mostly between 5 to 7 minutes in length, and people are loving that because they can jump in, do a piece of work, feel that accomplishment, and then either keep going or go do something else and then come back. And so it's much less overwhelming. The rates of completion are going up, and people's satisfaction is going up and up. So I am so grateful and loving it. We've also added more tech tutorials, really taking people step by step through how to get their programs up and running. And we added a Q&A call with a tech expert so people can get their stuck issues sorted around tech. I also have a follow-up program, and the follow-up program used to be called Rebel Therapist Mastermind, and now it's changed a bit and it's called Rebel Therapist Marketing Intensive. And the focus is now completely on marketing. And marketing is what people need help on after they've created their pilots, after they've launched it to the first people who already knew about their work. The intensive is now super focused on giving participants tailored marketing plans so they can get up and over 100K with their programs. And it's all about messaging and strategy and marketing. Now I want to talk about what worked to bring people to the business. Like, where did participants come from? The number one source was referrals from particular humans. And many of those people were past clients referring new clients. The second biggest source was this podcast. And a close third was me being a guest on other podcasts and in other people's communities. A takeaway for you is please track, if you've got a program already, please track where people are finding you. That information is so important because then you can double down on what's working and do less of other things. So what's changed in my marketing? What's changed in what we're actually putting out there? For one thing, I started running Facebook and Instagram ads to this podcast because I know that when the right people listen to this podcast, they get help and many of them sign up for CYP. And Claire Pelletreau is the person I turned to for help with Facebook and Instagram ads. I also started highlighting the grads of my programs much more. I featured 27 grads of my programs on this podcast in 2022. And that was such a joy. And y'all loved knowing specifically who they are, what they created, why they created those things. I've been focusing more on my ideal referral partners. So my ideal referral partners are the people who serve the same people I do, but they serve them in different ways. And so in my case, that means people who serve therapists. Those are my ideal referral partners. And so focusing on nurturing those relationships, supporting those people, referring to those people, and sometimes finding ways to collaborate. Another thing that changed a bit is my messaging. So my messaging is more directed now to people who want to question the status quo of the therapy industry. And those people tend to really find a home in my work. Some bird's eye view reflections. I don't have a big list. I don't have a big audience compared to how much money my business is making and how many people I've helped. I have a small audience. And I think that's because I'm really dialed in on talking to the right people and being clear about how I can help. My conversion rates are really high. And conversion rates, that just means the percentage of people who actually take you up on your offer compared to how many people are hearing about your offer. I often talk to other entrepreneurs who have way bigger lists, like lists over 10,000, email lists over 10,000. And a lot of them are not bringing in as much money as Rebel Therapist and definitely not taking home as much money as the business owner. They tend to have a lot of times bigger teams, more complicated businesses, more expensive tech going on. And so I really love holding on to that strength of being small and nimble and focused. Another important reflection is where my confidence comes from in selling my offers. I did an episode about this. Really, my confidence in selling my offers comes not just from confidence in myself, but even more from being in love with my offer and knowing that I've created an offer that serves people really, really well. Now I'm going to go through my expenses. So what did Rebel Therapist spend money on? The biggest expense was help from other humans. So professionals like Seema, who I mentioned, the curriculum designer, and I also got some beautiful help from Podge Thomas on overhauling my systems, the behind the scenes systems that nobody usually sees. I use Notion as my platform, and Podge has completely overhauled my Notion so that it's organized, it's easy to find things, and it's going to be easy as I build my team for them to jump in and work with me. So really happy about spending money with these professionals who are so good at what they do and are working in their zone of genius within my business. The next biggest expense would be my own coaching and education as a business strategist. So hiring coaches, getting education, and that's always going to be one of my biggest expenses, and I love it. The next biggest expense has been employees. And part of why that's not higher on the list is because I only had an employee part of the year. So we can expect that one to be bigger in 2023. Next would come guest teachers in the Rebel Therapist programs. And that is money really well spent. Again, people in their zone of genius bringing something to the programs that makes the program so much better. And next would be advertising on Facebook and Instagram. And next would be platforms and tech. And next would be paying for help and education around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or decolonizing my business. And the next expense would be my podcast editor. And then it just keeps going from there, but we'll be here all day if I go through every expense line. When I look at those expenses, I like how they shape out. I feel really good about all of those investments and the impact they've had on the business. And again, I want to say these are the right expenses for me with a business that is at a fairly advanced stage. These would not be quite the right investments for a brand new business. And that's something I talk a lot about in CYP is like how to decide what to invest in when. Now I'm going to get into my personal life a little bit. What happened in 2022 that was a big deal? One is I took 2 full months off. I took a 2-month sabbatical. I went to Italy for over 6 weeks during that time, and I mostly unplugged from my business. It was awesome. I got to the point of being fully bored at times, and I think that is incredibly important. I also just want to bookmark I made the most money I've ever made in Rebel Therapist, and I took off much more time than I've ever taken off. I took time off besides those full 2 months as well. So there was a lot of weeks off in 2022. Another thing that happened in my personal life, one of my kids came back from college and now lives with us and transferred to a local college. And I'm so glad to have him back. And my other kid graduated from one school that he had aged out of and is really happy at his next school. And it's a school that has no homework or almost no homework. And I love that. And he loves that, especially because he has soccer practice and games 5 to 6 days a week. And so this gives him a relatively balanced life. My partner, Ames, had top surgery this year, and I am so happy for them. And yes, I had full permission to share this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and Google what's top surgery. And we bought another rental property in Michigan in the same neighborhood as the first one. And this came from taking Paula Pant's course, Your First Rental Property. There's no affiliation. She doesn't know I exist, but it's a really good course. And we're not making money yet from those, full disclosure. We're in it for the long game. There have been some hiccups, but we're in it for the long game, not the flip game. So far, okay. And rental properties aren't the only way that I invest. I think investing is so important for micro business owners to be thinking about and talking about. It's not my area of expertise, but I'm throwing it in here because it's a big deal. And I'm always happy to answer questions about it as a non-expert. The biggest thing I want to commit to in 2023, besides obviously serving people at the highest level, I want to take on 1 to 2 projects at a time. I'm not going to take on another project until one of those projects is either complete or it's been rolled into an ongoing workflow, or I've decided not to complete it after all. I am no longer going to take on a 3rd project or a 4th project just because I thought I should have been done with one of my other projects by now. I'm going to actually move at the speed of my life and my business and take things on one at a time. I'm going to question urgency moving forward. So I would love to know from you what your reflections are on the year behind you. And I know you're already partway into 2023. So tell me how your goals might have even changed between the end of 2022 and now. I would love to know. So just email me at info@coachingwithannie.com and let me know if I can share any of your reflections on the pod. And again, before I go, I want to remind you, get on the wait list for Create Your Program. Go to rebeltherapist.me/create. We're going to have a special offer for you if you're already on the wait list, and we're opening registration soon. Oh, and another thing, I just went into Apple Podcasts and gave some 5-star ratings to the podcasts that I listen to and that I love. I've been asking you to do that. It makes such a huge difference when we get more ratings. So if you could take 30 seconds, give us a 5-star rating, it absolutely helps us to serve more people. So thank you so much. See you soon. I want to thank Cosmo Palms for editing this podcast. If you found this episode supportive, please share it with your favorite therapist or healer. That is absolutely how we reach more people. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.